Welcome to a a new, I guess, moment, but another episode of the BIYG podcast. But I don't know if we're gonna change that title or not. I still believe in your growth because I think a lot of the things that I talk about center around personal hmm, improvement, self improvement, self analysis, and stuff like that, looking at your internal situations and things and, getting in alignment. Um, well, biblically for me or with the word, but whatever it might be for other people. But, no, I am your host. I am your host, Stefan. I'm not going to say Blue anymore, even though I like Blue. I think it's a cute name, whatever, but I'm your host, Stefan. And, this isn't going to be a long video. It's going to be very short. It should be short and brief. I'm not a preacher. I'm not a teacher. I am just someone who has, I guess, feelings. Let's call it like that. And some people don't like feelings because you shouldn't be led by your feelings, but God gave us feelings for a reason. And I try not to disregard everything. Some things you can't trust, but some things are there for a reason. But no, on today, I want to talk about something that came to me like maybe 2 months ago. Yeah, and a series of like a few things started coming to me, but one thing in particular, a gift from the devil. And so the only real story that I can link back to that is after John baptized Jesus and the Spirit unctioned him to go into the wilderness for the 40 days or whatever. And then, like I said, this isn't a teaching or preaching moment, but I just to set the stage, the background, and to have it, make sense. But, also, just last night, which was March 21st, 2022, I was just sitting there trying to understand and get clarity and look up instances, but there's a lot of instances in life where blessings are not from God. There's plenty, and people will say the enemy doesn't look to bless you, he looks to steal, kill, and destroy. But even in my own life, I can look back at moments and things where I was on the brink of God doing something, and the enemy quickly and swiftly thought of a plan, a strategy, a plot, a scheme, a thing to thwart me off of that with something that looked greater because I, a lot of moments in my life, and a lot of people may not know, but have not been the most glorious, but it's not about glory to me. It's about getting in alignment and being in relationship with God and living my life as purely as possible. And so, you know, um it may not look pleasing to everyone else, but when you live in this human, situation, you get so many opinions, so many thoughts and words thrown your way that it is easy to become infiltrated. It is easy to get persuaded. It is easy to be moved by opinions and thoughts of others that you get off of the seat, the pedestal, the throne that God has placed you on in order to receive your anointing, to receive what has been promised to you. And so it's not always going to be this grand evil looking thing. Sometimes it'll come through your desperation, like as I began to dive into other people's teachings about, Jesus going into the wilderness for 40 days and 40 nights. It was when Satan came, it was more so the fact that you would be hungry definitely after not eating for 40 days. You would want certain things definitely after 40 days of denying your flesh. And so in the midst of not having whatever you may need to sustain your existence as a human entity, it's not hard to think of the things that the enemy can do to move you out of position so that you don't make it through the full 40 days, whatever your duration is that God wants you to go through, so that you can get your full blessing, the full assignment, the full calling. Like, and that's the thing about it. Or even the enemy may not try to cut off the full, the walk through the wilderness. He may wait until you get to the end of it. You never know, the beginning, the end, the middle. The enemy is tactical, is very sneaky. And one thing that I think Miss Shannon Yvette, I don't know if it was Latoya Okia, but those are a few people that I listened to. One of them stated that, and also, I've been watching Vikings on Amazon. It's not the most pure, but it's insightful. But we don't know a lot about what the enemy will do in order to get to kill, steal, and destroy us as servants or followers or believers of God or whatever. And so that's an issue for me, because I know we're taught not to give the enemy too much credit or give the enemy so much attention, but it is at a time now where you need to pay attention, and you need to understand. You need to think like a king and less like a warrior and less like a civilian, because it's not time to be passive and sit back and then wonder, oh Lord, do this for you. There's things that you can do for yourself to keep yourself protected, and all with God, all of these things with God. But if you're not taking the precautions, the measures to be a strong, it's, I don't know, you're just leaving yourself open to attack. And so my thing is, now some attacks are sent by God, and some those attacks that you don't want to pray away, you want to go through it humbly and willingly and get what he has for you. But other attacks, there are things that are like lessons and stuff that you have to be prepared for. You have to fight and war against. And so, but that's neither here nor there. I know this is probably getting longer than I wanted it to, but even still, you have to understand, everything that glitters is not gold. It is a common statement. It is a common saying that I believe most, it doesn't matter, cultures understand and have heard, maybe in their own language or whatever, but I'm sure that most people know that statement, that saying. And so, like I said, for myself, I've even witnessed it and seen it. Just because it looks like a blessing or it's better than your current circumstance does not mean that it was sent by God. And I'm gonna do a video called, what was it called? It's like it's something about requirement. I don't know, I forget. When I get to I get to it. But the next video after this one is gonna be the widowed orphan, the poor widowed orphan believer. And I think a lot of my videos are going to be centered around financial situations. I don't know, but that's getting off topic. But either way, I think I'm going to stick around God's favor in this moment. I don't know how many episodes I'm going to do. I may do 12, I may do 5, I don't know. But that's going to be the next episode, the poor widowed orphan believer. And so I do think all of those tie into understanding what a blessing looks like and what favor with God looks like, because money does not always equate a blessing. Riches, people, it's in the Bible that people will still be planning and making all of these adjustments for their businesses, but they'll still die and they'll still fade away. And so it comes to say, money is a good tool, but I do believe we are in a moment where people have began to worship money. And it's a very fine line between it. And I get it, because you need the money to survive. But there are certain things that I believe can happen. There are miracles and then there are things that we do for ourselves. And that's going to be another video that I do later within this season. But most people are not waiting for God to do things. And honestly, I do believe that God requires human effort, because there's certain things that cannot be done, but also there are things that God doesn't need your agreement to do. And it's very weird, and I'll give one illustration from my own personal living, where I don't really like Christian rap, because I don't think a lot of it, I don't know, I'm weird, but I don't really like Christian rap. Not that it's bad, but it's just I like, ghetto rap. That's just what it is. And I mean, I'm working here and there. But no, yeah. So I sat here and I learned this song. Y'all song, I'ma stay saved, ain't gonna start cussing. I think most people have heard that song back in the day. And I don't know, I didn't know why, but I mean, at the time, it was just a song that was just catchy. It just caught me, and I was binge listening to it. And so, little did I know there was an assignment for that. And so it comes a time where my church is having like this talent show for the kids and stuff like that. And so I sing a song. I love to sing. That's what I do. And okay, time goes by, but then there's this kid that I know. Now, this kid, me and him, we were never really that cool. And this video is getting longer than it's supposed to, but we were never really that cool. And so, all right, no problem. But he begins to perform or rap, sing out that I'ma Stay Saved song, the song that I had been not even learning. I don't even know what I was doing, but just listening to it over and over and over and over again. And so he begins to forget the words, or I don't know if it was fright, stage fright, or whatever may have happened. But in that moment, I can definitely say it wasn't me, but I'm part of me got up, and this really happened. Got up, went up there to go help him perform his song. Now, granted, this is someone who it wasn't like a major beef, but it seemingly at any point in time he had to make me feel uncomfortable, to make me feel less than. And so even though this kid was younger than me, I don't think the enemy, or even as kids, it doesn't really matter. Most people, they don't like somebody, it doesn't matter age or not. And I just went up there to go help him. And I and there's a lot of things in life where I can look back, where you don't have to agree to God, but I've stated this before, growing up, bus rides to school, I would cry out to God to use me for certain things. And everything isn't going to be big and grand, everything isn't going to be a small gesture, but God will do what he needs to do when he needs to do it. And so the most willing thing that you can do is submit yourself and let God know that I'm willing to be used. And so, how does that tie back in? How does that tie back into a gift from the devil? People need to understand, when you're used, a lot of times it's not going to look how you want it to look. It's not going to look how everybody else wants it to look. You may look as if you are in the pit and God is offering you a way out with a job, or with a $10,000 check, or with connections and networking and all this other stuff. But if God told you to stay there, God instructed you to stay there, God instructed you to sit down and do this and do that and not move, but you moved anyway, because why? You wanted to survive. That's the trick. And don't get me wrong, this existence is all some of us know. And so I get holding on to existence, humanity, but at some point you have to deny yourself. It's like when they say fasting, you have to deny your flesh. Really, you have to do not deny your flesh, because beyond this life is something better. And it's just, at that point, people, you it's do you risk? It's a big risk. It's a big risk to say I would die. I would be a martyr for what God has told me to do. And a lot of people are not gonna like that. But would you rather take the blessing of the enemy so that you could gain access and be a ruler of this world? Or would you rather pursue the things of God, get to know God, have God on your side, be favored, because God favors the poor, a poor believer, more than a man with riches who still does nothing. And then a man who is to come with riches, or woman who comes into hard times, should still be humbled and still thank God because he chose them enough to let them endure that. But my thing is to pursue God regardless of the circumstance is more valuable than to gain everything and then to lose it all. That is basically the whole thing. Like, why do you want things so bad? And so I don't need a gift from the devil. I don't want any gift that comes from the devil. I don't want any plot, scheme, trap, anything that looks good in the moment, because it's not for me. It's not for me. And my thing is, I would be a fool to get caught and wrapped up in the same thing that Satan got cast out of heaven for. And so, I mean, to each their own. I understand everybody's circumstance is different, and where God's grace is abound, God's grace is enough to forgive all of us and do whatever He decides and wants to do, and that goes in saying that God can do whatever He wants to do. There is no prerequisite. There is no formula to get God to move. And I'm tired and sick of people trying to sell a formula for people to be successful, sell a formula for people to get God's blessings and all this other stuff. Sometimes you do have to work, sometimes you do have to wait. It doesn't matter. What matters is the voice of God telling you what you need to do. And so I hope I said what I needed to say. I think I used enough examples, because my life in itself is becoming an example of everything that I want to represent and what I've asked God to do. And like I say, when people ask me, what do you want to be when you grow up? I want to help people. And what better way to help people than to getting them to realize the truth about what they're doing and what I may be potentially doing myself. Now, I'm not saying having ambition is a bad thing, but lay I personally lay my will down. If I don't ever get to any place that I want to be, I pray that I make it to the place where God has designed and designated for me to be. And you know in that, I am happy. I've been, the past 5 months has been very hard, very hard. And if anything, it has taught me that, like, like I said, either Miss Shannon Yvette said it, Latoya Okiyo, or I got it from the Vikings show that I've been watching, that you need to know the tactics and the strategy of the enemy. And even with the Paul and Silas thing, I looked it up. I had gone through something and God had, moved and delivered me from a situation, but then I got attacked in another way, and where the one attack had stopped, another attack had started. And so, I'm fresh out of that. That the I'm fresh out of that. But it's just we have to know, we have to stop being sheep and be the sheep. But also, you have to stop being prey. Stop being prey, just sitting ducks, and actually get to know something. But it's hard. And living as a human entity, it is hard, because it's like, well, if I don't do this, then this isn't going to happen. If I don't do this, then that isn't going to happen. Do what God tells you to do. That's all I'll instruct and say to anyone ever. Do what God tells you to do, because everybody's walk is not to be mimicked. Everybody's lifestyle is not to be worshiped and copied and desired, because it's not built for everybody. What's meant for you will be for you, and what's meant for me will be for me. But I can just say from experience, everything that glitters is not gold. Stop listening to everyone's voice and get to a place where you can hear God's voice, and you can weep in his presence, and you can feel bliss every almost every moment of your life. And I'm not saying that turmoil and tragedy won't strike, it won't try to come at you or whatever, but I'm just saying with God there is moments and serenity. So that is going to be all for this video. Honestly, I don't even know if I said or talked about what I think I did. A gift from the devil. Be wary of these things. And we already know manifestation is a gift of the devil. To me, I want to say this again. Just because you can work and get a thing does not mean it was a miracle or it was a blessing for God. That does not take God's effort for us to work for things. Now, God does bless us with limbs and activity of our limbs, and I thank God for that every day, which I don't think enough people do. God gives us functionality of our entrails and everything that's on the inside of us and everything. I thank God for it all. But you have to understand, human effort, honestly, a lot of times does not equate a miracle or does not equate God blessing you, because there's a lot of things we can do that God doesn't want to do. And so I mean, pray about that as always. And I ask for conviction. I ask for God to correct me in anything that I do that may be wrong. Tell me anything that I say that may be wrong, and give me the ability to come back and repent and do it again and make the, whatever may happen. But yeah, remember to stay positive. Keep that with you. Spread it wherever you go. My name is Stefan Blue. I love blue. I don't know why. If if you don't know, and yeah, that is all for this video.